Welcome back, boils and ghouls. This is the Controversy Corner, where we're going to be talking about controversial things inside of the comic book industry. I wanted to talk about the recently announced Mr. A Artists Edition by Steve Ditko coming from IDW. Now, if you are a somewhat casual Steve Ditko fan, in the sense that you enjoy Steve Ditko's work on Spider-Man, but aren't necessarily aware of Steve Ditko's personality, his philosophy, or the flamboyant nature of both of those things, then he is an objectivist. And as such, that is why he became what many people viewed as a crazy recluse. And he was anything but crazy, and apparently he was anything but reclusive as well, according to Mark, the representative from his family that came to the San Diego Comic-Con panel talking about the Mr. A Artists Edition in the end of 2019, I believe. This is some months old, but for me it's rather new. I don't necessarily keep up with all of these announcements. It's just so hard. There's so much stuff happening these days. When I come across good stuff, I do want to share it with you guys. This is the first thing I came across. I think it very much warrants a little bit of discussion. If you do not know about Steve Ditko, he basically does not support any collected editions of his work. He was directly asked by a fan about collecting Mr. A into a trade paperback or something of that nature, and he wrote back with one of his legendarily short and terse letters: "I am against, quote, collecting all the stories in one place," end quote. And Ditko stuck to his morals to such an incredible magnitude that I think that when someone like that makes this statement that, no, I don't want this to happen, and they're basically still warm in the ground, and you see this announcement, the obvious jump is to be like, cash grab by the family, and then you read the, I know, bleeding cool article on the panel, and it's heavily insinuated, and like, I don't even think he really needed to insinuate it. If you read the quote, if that is indeed a direct transcription of what happened, Mark is the nephew of Steve Ditko, and he essentially says that his father is the one that's in charge of everything, and that his father wants to get this stuff out, and that since his dad is the one who owns this stuff, and his dad wants it to happen, it's gonna happen. This is extremely important to me for a very particular reason. As I mentioned, and will probably have to repeatedly mention with Steve Ditko, he's an objectivist, and if you don't know what an objectivist is, please do a little bit of reading and research. I by no means agree with objectivism. I think that things are not black and white, but Steve Ditko did. There was a right and there was a wrong to Steve Ditko. There was a yes and there was a no, and those things were concrete. They were immutable facts with Steve Ditko. The fact that he made this statement is a big breaking point for a lot of fans. A lot of fans are like, I don't want to buy this because Steve Ditko does not approve of this. But if you remember, the original art for Amazing Fantasy 15 was donated. Now this might have to do more with the spurious nature of perhaps where the original art for Amazing Fantasy 15 came from, but that's another video, and I'm gonna get that one. So they contacted Steve Ditko and were like, is it okay if it's donated? He didn't say, yeah, I think it's okay. What he said was, it was the owner's right to do with it what they wanted. Steve Ditko was very big on that. Steve Ditko left the art to his brother. His brother wants to release the art. Thereby, I think this becomes a real discussion of, would he oppose this? Maybe with his brother, but not with IDW. If he had any problems with his brother, it would be between him and his brother, and I still don't think that would be an issue unless it was an issue of like, well, my brother has done the wrong thing, and therefore he's a bad guy, so there are going to be repercussions for that down the line. I don't think there would ever have even been a discussion. Steve Ditko would have just been like, okay, I'm putting that down in the book. Rorschach's journal. That was Steve Ditko. for better or worse. And as I said, by extension, I think this becomes a real discussion of would Steve Ditko have actually still opposed his brother releasing this material, and I don't think so. I think Steve Ditko would be okay with it being released in this format. The man had moral fortitude, the likes of which we may never see again, or I may at least never see again in my lifetime. Steve Ditko had a moral freaking code. He made a call that I don't want to do this, I don't want to be involved in this anymore. Bam, and went and he did something else entirely. He stuck to his guns. There was a yes and there was a no, there was a right and there was a wrong, and Steve Ditko did Steve Ditko, man, nobody else. I respect that. But that also means that I try to look at things as analytically detached as I can. So while I think maybe there are arguments to be made, it's cash grab by the family, do you want Steve Ditko's original art to go to completely private collectors, to be completely dispersed, to be sold off, parted out, hauled off to the 7 corners of the earth, never to be seen again? That's what will happen. If no profit, nothing can be gained by keeping the art or collecting the art in one place, by releasing it, his brother's going to seek other avenues. Right now, original comic book art is worth millions of dollars. Yeah, probably Steve Ditko didn't have any Spider-Man doodles at home that they have or whatever, but they've got a ton of Mr. A stuff. They've got, or at least they should have, a lot of Doctor Strange stuff. Man, that stuff's going to sell for big bucks at private auction. Do you want to see that, or do you want to see it collected in books and the family curate the collection and for something to positive and productive come out of it? Because looking at it objectively, that's what I would like to see. The best possible outcome. And for me, the best possible outcome is not somebody taking an axe to the entire collection and selling a piece here and selling a piece here and having all the covers go to different places and none of the issues sticking together. This stuff was made to be appreciated, and I really respect Scott Dunbar as a person. So I had to look at this very much from Scott Dunbar, the guy from IDW who's responsible for the Artist Edition series. I had to look at it from his perspective. I had to look at it from my perspective. I had to look at it from Steve Ditko's perspective. And I kept arriving at the exact same decision. They were all varying degrees or reasons for that decision. For me, I just don't want to see the art go to waste, man. It makes me sad. For Scott Dunbar, I think it's part of loving Steve Ditko and things that he's very attached to. He wants to do artist editions of, and I'm not sure that necessarily the idea of Steve Ditko being okay or not okay didn't enter into the equation for Scott Dunbar. I think probably it entered into the equation with Scott Dunbar more than most people. So I wanted to look at things objectively. I wanted to point it out to you guys. I wanted to see what you thought. Get in the comments section below. Do you agree with collecting Steve Ditko's stuff? Any of Steve Ditko's stuff? Because he was opposed to that. Are you just opposed to the Mr. A stuff? Do you want to see the Mr. A stuff? Are you going to buy the Mr. A stuff? I'm going to buy the Mr. A stuff. I will not lie, won't front. I love Steve Ditko. I mean, I respect him more and more as my life goes on, and the more I learn about him. And I disagree with him the older I get and the more I learn about him. It's amazing. So please get in the comments section below. Weigh in on this, man. Let me know. Is this even important to you? Do you even care about like artist's intent or will when they're creating? Because it's okay if you don't. It's commercial art. Do you think Steve Ditko? Well, I guess actually Mr. A is less commercial. That is another interesting question I had not actually thought of. Is that important to you? Do you care about that? Get in the comment section below and let me know. Thanks so much for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked what you saw, please hit that like button. If you really enjoyed what you saw, Hulk smash that subscribe button. If you do that, ding the little notification bell so you keep up with these videos that I'm dropping all the time. There's tons of cool stuff coming out on the channel. Thanks again for sticking with me. And as always, I really, truly, and honestly ask only 2 things, folks. Keep hitting those local shops. Keep reading comics.